We'll start with the Irish Examiner this morning. The men the bookies fear reads the headline there. It's Ruby Walsh and Willie Mullins. It is the start of Cheltenham. Layers running scared of fit again. Walsh and Mullins on opening day of Cheltenham Festival. It's everywhere this morning, really. Tipsters giving their tips, and there seems to be a varying degree of who people are going for. A couple of very surprising ones which we might get to in a little while. Johnny Ward will join us shortly. We'll have John Duggan as well on around 9 o'clock. Bookies fear Ruby Roar reads the back of the Sun. Walsh can fire reads Steve Jones's piece. You've also got this Manchester United story doing the rounds as well today. Jose's rash promise. Mourinho knows how to make Marcus special. That's because of the comments by Frank de Boer and BT over the course of the weekend. Jose's Boer War comes up then on the back of the Star. You've also got opening day not in doubt at Cheltenham. That being said, there's going to be heavy ground at Cheltenham for the first time in I think about 36 years. So that's certainly a big talking point ahead of day one at Cheltenham, but it's not in doubt. It's not in threat whatsoever. Racing will happen today. Speaking of which, the front of the Racing Post goes with this pretty colourful front page. Where dreams come true, it says. We've got all that Cheltenham Festival feeling, says the front of the Racing Post. Manchester United as well on the back of the Racing Post. Full speed ahead, says the headline there. United ready to hit top gear in Champions League showdown. It's Manchester United against Sevilla in the second leg of that round of 16 clash at 7:45 this evening. While it's bore off, is the headline on the back of the Mirror. Frankly, Jose won't take criticism over Rashford form. The worst boss in Prem history, says Jose Mourinho, judging Frank de Boer, just like the Crystal Palace board did on his 5 games in English football. And Jose, it's win or bust now. United boss says his side will have more belief in last 8, reads the back of the Herald. They're off Israel as well, reads the headline there with Cheltenham. 16-page pullouts, left, right and centre basically. In
Mourinho wasn't even asked about the De Boer comments. He was just asked whether or not Rashford's going to start in this game, and used it as an opportunity to go to his pre-rehearsed script of, well, I read that the worst manager in Premier League history was slagging me off. And then it turns out that Rashford has been one of his most picked players over the last couple of seasons.
But Jose Mourinho watches a lot of BT Sport. Like, he had a pop at Paul Scholes earlier this season. Does he just like go home and is like waiting for NHL on the fly to start and is somehow stumbles upon Paul Scholes and Frank de Boer spitting fire about his football team? Is this how it works, or is there somebody inside Old Trafford who's like watching all this?
He was a BT ambassador for a while, wasn't he?
Jose? Oh yes, he was. Yeah, he did some stuff with them. Like, I'm not sure is that relationship going to end, but certainly Scholes and De Boer have felt the brunt of Jose's comments this season.
Maybe that's part of being the deal, is that you're watching the stuff and you're just giving out about it, because then everybody watches to see what's going to happen.
Great publicity.
Yeah, totally. On a knife edge, it says, but it's not really. Sky suspend Carragher for spitting shame. Jamie Carragher's career as one of the leading TV pundits is hanging by a thread following a spitting incident caught on video that has appalled the football world. So obviously by now you know that Jamie Carragher was caught spitting on a girl in the passenger seat of a car that he wound the window down to gob on. And he's apologised twice on Sky. He was on Sky Sports News and Sky News, and people are drawing comparisons between how the incident around Andy Gray and Richard Keys was handled. Keys apparently apologised early on in the system, but they didn't actually put the apology to air for a good while after that. Meanwhile, pressure built and built and built, whereas Carragher has been straight out to go, oh, sorry about that, really sorry. It was like an out-of-body experience. This bit where I was actually in my body, gobbing on a child. That was, it wasn't me. It's like, definitely, I know it looks like me in the video, and it sounds like me. It really definitely, it is my voice. That's my car, that's my suit. That's my gob nestling gently on the face of a child.
It's
not me. Out of body experience. Definitely not me.
Well, out of character is certainly how he's been pushing it.
Is it out of character?
I don't know.
How do we know?
I don't know Jamie Carragher, but he's certainly told us that it is out of character.
It's really unfortunate that one time he spits on a teenager, it gets caught on camera. I mean, what are the chances that the one time you spit on a teenager it's going to get caught?
The one thing I would say about this, and without kind of trying to leap to Carragher's defence here, is that when you, like, the natural comparison is obviously between Keys and Gray and how Sky handled that. But do you not think that the Keys and Gray incident was more of a reflection of their character than potentially this is of Jamie Carragher's character? That this really is kind of,
I think
if you accept the whole kind of rash action, as in this was a moment of absolute disgusting insanity.
But why would we accept that that's out of character?
Well,
does that not... Is your character not defined by moments like that?
I'm saying that this is closer to the line when it comes to accepting an out-of-character thing, whereas with Keys and Gray, it felt like very much in character, that this had been... We'd been eavesdropping rather than stumbled upon an insane moment.
I definitely would not make any comparison between what Keys and Gray did and what happened in this instance.
That's my point.
They're completely separate issues, but it's just how they're being dealt with is interesting. Sky clearly wants Carragher to survive, and they clearly didn't want Keys and Gray to survive. That was the point I was making about that. Gary Lineker obviously weighed in on Twitter with a joke, #Bants. Seems at Cara23 can't do it on a cold, damp Monday night at Stoke. This was in response to the news that obviously he'd been dropped for the Stoke Man City game last night, which Man City won 2-0, by the way. Jeff Shree straight back in. Good luck with your Halo. Threw your toys out of the pram when that Mr. Jake Humphrey commented on a graphics mistake. Did he?
I can't remember. Like Jeff Shreve's remembering that he commented on a graphics mistake is even more petty than Gary Lineker commenting on somebody commenting on a graphics mistake.
You've gone too early with that one, said Gary Lineker. Read next tweet, and his next tweet was along the lines of, "Oh, he's apologised. It was very bad. He'll be back at work soon, as he should be." And Shreves goes, "No, haven't. Never right, never funny." I mean, it's like the worst joke in football about somebody not being able to do something on a cold, wet Tuesday night in Stoke, and you know, it's about the level that Gary Lineker's humour is perched at, and it's absolutely fine. It's not particularly funny, but it's not unfunny.
That's very odd. So Jeff Shreves is obviously on the Sky side in all of this. What does he mean? No, it's not. Never funny. As in, it is not funny. So he's defending the guy who spat at a girl.
Yeah,
it's like, you can't be talking about this man who did this disgusting thing in that way. Like, I think this is in essence the perfect 21st century punishment. Let him be open to all the vilification, well, 95% of it. Let him be open to all of that, to the jokes about him not being able to do it on a wet Monday night in Stoke City. Like, what has gone wrong in Jamie Carragher's life that we're not allowed to laugh at him as a result of this? What is Jeff Shreves defending here exactly? Like, fair enough if there's an anonymous bystander who's like, it's not funny to laugh at a 14-year-old girl suffering a traumatic experience.
Oh, no.
But Jeff Shreves is defending Jamie Carragher here and defending his skin, so to speak. Like, it's such that is a very, very strange defence.
Oh, it's weird.
Albeit of a colleague.
It's weird. Like, I mean, Jamie Carragher is old enough and ugly enough to be able to look after himself in the bed that he's made for himself, and he can lie in it now. So I don't know what Jeff Shreve's gone on about, to be honest. But I do think that, like, what Carragher's done, and if he loses his job over it, like, I wouldn't actually be that disappointed. Are we saying that, like, I mean, also he wrote that column in the Mail a couple of years back where he talked about some Russians spitting at him and how he was so shocked and appalled at such a disgusting thing that was ever going to happen. But, like, now, once getting some minor grief from a football fan after a football match, Jamie Carragher has resorted to spitting on someone.
Yeah,
classy move.
I do get great enjoyment out of the defence of Jamie Carragher saying, what the hell is a guy doing taking out his phone when he's on the motorway and is putting his kid's life in danger by driving in such a manner? It's like, Jamie Carragher did not, like, swerve across the motorway after he spat on himself and his child. Yeah, I mean, the moral equivalence of, like, oh, well, that guy's also doing something bad, versus that prevents us from then making any kind of sense of, well, this is who Jamie Carragher is. He is the person who will spit on you. Yeah, exactly. That's the only conclusion I'm drawing from this. Jamie Carragher likes to gob on you. Yeah, like it's certainly the one time that somebody filmed him, he's been gobbed on. Come on. There is that. There have been other, of course, humorous moments, which I'm sure will pop up mysteriously over the next couple of hours, where it's like, oh, look at Jamie Carragher doing this random act of kindness. Yeah. Back when random act of kindnesses were a very popular thing. It's like, oh, that mysteriously just popped up on my YouTube feed. Wow, he's a really nice man. Silver City, 2 wins from title. Back to the headlines. Schmidt may shake up pack. This is the story from the Times Ireland edition. Jack McGrath, Ian Henderson likely to come back into the starting lineup for the England game, and it looks like Dylan Hartley may yet receive clearance to play, and he'll go straight back into the team as well. Well, there's also hope for Mike Brown to return at fullback. I'm not sure if that would be the worst news for Ireland. And then managers to meet in row over players. That's the O'Neills apparently are going to meet in the simmering
row, which hasn't quite erupted into full-blown tensions between Michael and Martin O'Neill just yet, although Michael O'Neill did accuse Martin of not understanding the point that he was trying to make when Martin O'Neill brought up Alex Bruce as one of the players that the North had tempted, breadcrumbed up to play for them in Belfast as opposed to playing in Dublin. His point was that you can't be asking teenagers to decide the future of their careers when they haven't fully formed their ideas or their own sense of national identity just yet, which I think is probably a fair point. Me next.
Yep.
North boss O'Neill hopeful of meeting to discuss row over players. Same story. This is the back of the Irish Independent, and we can't go into our shell, warns Conor Murray. This is Conor Murray obviously put out before the press today, and so is the lead interview in all of the main sports sections, including the Irish Times, which I'll bring to you next. Murray says Ireland must trust their instincts, and boring Ireland victims of their own success is the Jerry Thornley column there. There is a very interesting story in the Irish Times today, also from Johnny Waterson, who's got his hands on an Irish Amateur Boxing Association internal report, which apparently was conducted by their manager, Joe Hennigan. Now, Joe Hennigan is the manager who didn't actually appear, as far as I can make out, at the time in front of the media to explain what was going on with Michael O'Reilly, and may have been a bit overwhelmed by what was going on at Rio, as the Irish boxers obviously had a really bad Olympic Games from their perspective. But this report says that the coach Zor Antia was told by a Russian that the fight that Michael Conlon had been involved in had been fixed, and they put that down in their report, and so I guess we'll be hearing a bit more about that, or maybe we won't. Maybe everybody just expected that to be the case. The Guardian today, Cheltenham countdown. Donald McRae joins two jockeys on Road to Glory. Always the good stuff from McRae. Rashford ramble, Mourinho hits back at worst manager de Boer, and Hammers fight back West Ham to pay for huge police presence at London Stadium. The move to the London Stadium, they did have that line about it being a world-class stadium transition. Karen Brady had said around the time that they moved. The legacy of the London Games gets ever more tainted as all the heroes, including the stadium, are stripped away.
Yeah, but we're going to be getting John Bruin's thoughts on this at around 8:30. And the interesting element in all of this is just the irony of it, that this is clearly a club that is doomed to fail as a result of a board that wants to take the cheap option and to do things on the cheap, which clearly will never work in top-flight football. And you look at where has this worked, and at Manchester City it's worked when they essentially moved across the city to Eastlands. At no other time can we really chart a club in the last 20 years of top-flight football moving so far to a different location of a city like London. And the only club, as I say, who've been able to pull it off is Manchester City. How did they pull it off? Because they've got a country in the Middle East funding them. West Ham have tried to do this because it was a cheap option, and somehow I feel that this is only going to be the start. This is tip of the iceberg stuff, especially when you look at I guess some of the fans that are associated with the football club. Are they going to lie down as a result of what happened on Saturday? No, they're going to be more empowered by their mates from the Football Lads Alliance and things like that, who hopped onto the pitch on Saturday against Burnley.
What's the Football Lads Alliance?
So this is another thing that I definitely want to ask John Bruin about. So we've basically got a civil war of sorts between West Ham supporters groups. You've got the West Ham United Independent Supporters Association, and you've got the real West Ham fans group. Lo and behold, the real West Ham fans group is probably kind of more closely aligned with the English Defence League or things like that. So they're a crowd that were threatening Mark Walker, the head of the West Ham United Independent Supporters Association. They're the crowd who tried to organise a protest before the Burnley game. It was subsequently called off. So the real West Ham fans group threatened that guy. They were also threatening a few other fans. They were set up by guys called Andy Swallow and Mickey Morgan. Now, Andy Swallow also has links with the Football Lads Alliance, which is essentially, just from doing a quick Twitter search this morning, the Football Lads Alliance kind of like advertises itself on being pro-Brexit and organising marches led by pro-Brexit Mr. whoever. And it's like, why does that matter? Like, can football lads not be football lads without being pro-Brexit? But clearly not, you know. Lo and behold, a group called Football Lads Alliance happens to be Brexit. I'm shocked and horrified that this is the case.
Wow, I mean, maybe we are entering the end of days of humanity. Maybe this is how society eats itself. Football Lads Alliance.
Well, it could be. Like, what a way to be consumed. It's like cause of death, Football Lads Alliance. I actually shouldn't say that because that's actually pretty grim and realistic possibility at this juncture. But in terms of the end of the universe, if the Football Lads Alliance were to conquer the world, it would surely just be kind of a Union Jack wearing kind of state of dystopia.
Burberry, a lot of Burberry.
Yeah, a lot of Burberry. I personally wouldn't be up for that. Maybe you would, but
No.
Football Lads Alliance taking over the world isn't for me.